Times are changing, societies are evolving, and literature is developing accordingly. Naturally, readers are always willing to recognize themselves or their contemporaries and literary characters, but not every writer succeeds in catering to these needs. And here I especially want to make an emphasis on the works of Kuandyk Tumenbaev, in which the representatives of our reality, the faces of independent Kazakhstan and new characters that exist in society, are reflected fairly. Mahbal Musa is a poet, member of the Union of Writers and Journalists of Kazakhstan. She is the winner of Jantsugurov and Makhatayev Republican contests. Apart from this, she won the first prize of the Republican Altyn Tobulghi contest, organized by the Foundation of Kazakhstan's first president. Also, Mahbal is a winner of 100 New Faces of Kazakhstan project. To be honest, personally, I prefer short stories rather than long novels. The writer Kuandyk Tumenbaev, taking Chekhov's "brevity is the sister of talent" quote as his motto, managed to achieve perfection by writing short stories. He's convinced that the modern book lover has too little time to read. The writer Kuandyk Tumenbaev was born in the village named after Ibrai Zhakayev, Shieli district, Kyzylorda region. In 1977, he graduated from al-Farabi Kazakh National University and in 1990 from the Institute of Literature in Moscow. He began his career as a correspondent in the Leninshil Zhas newspaper, and later he became the head of the department. He was the editor-in-chief of the Kazakhstan Publishing House. Currently, he works as a lecturer at the Institute of International Professions. Tumenbaev is a laureate of the Alash State Literary Prize. He's the author of numerous books such as Mattock with a Birch Haft, High-Speed Train, The Girl Who Waited for the Vacation, His Koktobe, Lapwing with a Burnt Wing, Convicted Dombra, Bottomless, Pranksters of Our Planet. Many of his works have been translated into Arabic, Russian, and German. Tumenbaev did not become a writer overnight. After graduation, he entered the Faculty of Agronomy at the Institute of Agriculture. However, in his mind, he was thinking about writing. Following his desires, he was transferred to al-Farabi Kazakh National University at the end of his first year. There, he enters not philological faculty, but the Faculty of Journalism, because he was convinced that a true writer is not a philologist, but a journalist, and there was neither a dormitory nor a scholarship provided by the journalism faculty. Years later, Tumenbaev would recall his youthful impulse with a smile, saying, "It was too late when I realized that the entire literature was at the philology department." In one of his interviews, he has once said, "Well, if I really had this desire to write, why wasn't I doing this when I was studying at the Agricultural Institute?" Indeed, not all graduates of the journalism department became poets and writers. Time puts everything in its place, and for some, writing never becomes a vocation. Thus, his dreams were confronted with reality, and he has experienced some sorrows as well as joyous moments. Now he knows that his path is a good lesson for many romantics like him. In such works as 40-Year-Old Girl, Girl Who Was Herding a Ball, Younger Sister, Woman, Woman in a Hurry, Woman Who Broke Eggs, the writer created a gallery of various female characters who were heatedly discussed in society. As it turned out, Tumenbaev had been fond of Bimbet Mylin's books since childhood, and this topic was especially important for him, as he has always sought to reveal the female soul in his works. In the classical Kazakh literature, the image of a woman has always been given a special place: mother, spouse, and daughter. We know quite a few examples of the worthy embodiment of these archetypes in national art. Over the last years, books with controversial views on the role of women in society started to increasingly appear on store shelves. They are full of life hacks about chastity and archaic advice for which they're regularly ostracized in social networks. In contrast to this dubious trend, we bring to your attention top classical works in which the Kazakh woman is represented in her true splendor. Bimbet Mylin, Raushan the Communist. This is a tale of a strong and active woman challenging her own husband and the very foundations of society. Raushan the Communist is one of the brightest works on the issue of gender equality in the steppe. Jusubek Aymautov, The Akbilek novel, the tragic story of a persistent and beautiful Kazakh woman unfolding against the backdrop of a civil war and the establishment of Soviet power. The main character of the novel, Akbilek, falls into the hands of a white guard officer and goes through many trials before returning to her homeland, to her roots and her first love. Gabit Musrepov, Opan is her name. The novel tells the story of a woman who is ahead of her time. Clever, strong-willed, and fair, Opan is striving to make life easier for her people and bring useful innovations to the steppe. But all her efforts and aspirations are smashed against the wall of ossified thinking of the patriarchal people. However, let's move away from the female characters. Today, it's not our main focus, because today we will be talking about the story of Kuandyk Tumenbaev called This Is Life. I really like this recently written work, which clearly reveals the face of modern society. The story is set in the city of Almaty. The protagonist of the story is a retired man. It's assumed that he lives in the upper part of the city on the Dostik Avenue, and every morning he takes a stroll down to the Palace of the Republic. In the main character, we recognize all those old people who feel cramped in those apartments and high-rise buildings, so they walk stubbornly around the neighborhoods, carefully observing what's happening. One of such elderly people became the writer's character. In this short story, Tumenbaev tells us about things that this retired man saw with his own eyes. For example, there is a scene that is set at the Palace of the Republic, where there are many young people who come to chill there. Some flirt and hold hands. Teenagers and children sit with their hands glued to their phones. Here are the traces of yesterday's gatherings. The young people were playing cards there and left behind empty bottles, breadcrumbs, and seeds husk. Passerby casually threw a cigarette butt, and the old man could not resist the remark, to which he heard, "It's none of your business." Yes, such heroes of our time are food for thought for sure. The place is popular, always crowded. Drinkers like to gather here, destroying the fruits of daily work of the yard keepers. This is of little concern to the guardians of order. They are not even visible, although sometimes there are so many of them here that one might think that the country is on the brink of war. Do they care about the local order? The old man thinks. No, they only care about the meetings, making sure that the mass gatherings take place here without any complications. And indeed, these guards come here only when the Akim holds meetings with the population. In short, the old man's mood is getting worse every day. Nothing makes him happy. Had long ago buried his wife and son. He only takes comfort in these strolls, when he can admire the wonderful nature of this place. And now, after a long walk, he comes to the monument of Ibrai. This is the real ornament of the city, bright soul. Chopin falls down from his left shoulder. He holds a book in his hand. His left foot is slightly braced. It's easy for such a dreamer to walk the earth. All leaned forward, all strived forward. Even if made of stone, Ibrai looks alive. They say he's turning 175 this year. Near the monument, there are many teenagers on bicycles. Stopping one of them, the old man asks, "Do you know to whom this monument is erected?" The teenager answering, "I don't know," suggests, laughing, "Maybe this is Gagarin." This stuns the old man for a moment and surprises him. Yes, there are children, teenagers, who do not know Ibrai. He has to believe this. The younger generation lives in their smartphones, glued to them with their heads, and national poets and heroes are not in the scope of their interests. Same as the character in the book. I'm completely confused. An unexpected loud snoring of a man sleeping under a monument distracted him from his uneasy thoughts. The old man tried to wake him up, asking, "Why are you lying here?" But the man did not react. He only mumbled, "This is life." The old man immediately dialed 102 and called the police. Looking at the lying man, the latter tried to quickly retreat with the words, "There is no blood, there is no crime." The old man threatened to call the Akimat. They stopped them. All that the elder wanted to achieve was to remove the homeless away from the Ibrai monument. Fearing complaints from a determined senior, law enforcement officers were forced to collect the homeless and drive him to the station. From this moment, the story begins to unfold faster. In court with a person who was sleeping under the Abai's monument, as eventually ended up, he answers all the judge's questions saying, "I love Abai's poems. When I fought in the war in Afghanistan, I often sang them, playing Dombra. This is life," he sighs. And the unexpected movement of the man's left hand exposes the half-empty sleeve of his torn jacket. "So he was wounded," thinks the old man, and his heart skips a beat, because his son has not returned from Afghanistan. At this moment, the writer emphasizes the huge problem of the homeless, saying that our world is full of contradictions, and what scares the most is that there are so many destitute among the young people. And how many of these Afghan war veterans are tired of standing in line for housing? Among them, there are many who have received various kinds of injuries. There are those who were left without relatives and friends.
Тіпті отбасынан, ет жақындарынан айырылғандары тағы бар. Сот үкім шығарды. Әлгі адам 6 ай бойы полиция...
The court ruled. Now the homeless will be under police surveillance for 6 months. The writer does not rant in his stories, but describes the situation in detail. Here is the ending of the story, but it does not let go. Two opposing heroes of our society. In the book, the author does not drop any loud words, does not appeal to our high feelings and thoughts. In a simple and understandable language, he narrates the life of Aksakal who has seen life. Has it ever occurred to the lonely old man who had lost his wife and son that someday he would meet another victim of that senseless war? Everything is messed up in our society. Everything was messed up in the thoughts of the old man. The boy who told him that he does not know Abai and the veteran of Afghanistan was been left out of life, but who loves Abai with all his heart. What do we have on the scales of life? You should think about it too. The modern society seems to have forgotten its past. Officials who must serve the people and care about their well-being, yard keepers who are in charge of cleaning, law enforcement officers guarding public assemblies, young people who are only interested in what is happening on their phones. And the old man realized how lonely Abai, now turned into stone, is in his struggle against the crowd. And he himself, having condemned someone for his appearance, lost his understanding of the present and important. Kuandyk Tumenbaev was born to become a talented writer. Without unnecessary pathos and boasting, he conveys to us the voice of time. To understand the writer, it's enough just to read his condemned Dombra and bullet stories. It seems to me that the writer managed to touch our deepest feelings. Do you remember the conversation about the difference between white and black between Abai and his son, Abdurrahman? A man in his youth is strong, his hair is black, but with age it turns gray, its color fades. We write letters on white paper and ink, and we preserve the most precious things we have, as the apple of our eyes, which are black. No, nothing is clearly black or white, Abai explained. Abdurrahman then asked his father, "How did you comprehend all this?" "Mind and reason," Abai answered. "And what color do you think your mind and reason are?" asked Abdurrahman. "White, of course," Abai laughed. So in this story there is no definite answer. Who's right and who's to blame? A man snoring on the stone feet of an idol, or a society that brought him to such a state? What is white? What is black? Such is the image of our society, where there is nothing unequivocal, but the shadow and the sun sometimes change places. Kuandyk Tumenbaev shows life without embellishment, the life as it is. Without excessive moralizing, he points out seemingly mundane and obvious things, and you have to think and look at the faces of his characters. Here they live next to you. Their characters and deeds are recognizable, and they are vivid in outlining the face of our generation and society.